There we go. Some reason it wasn't working, letting me claim host status, even though it's my Zoom link meeting. What can you do? Awesome, awesome, awesome. So tonight is a fun one. It is a fun time to be back and at it. Tonight's really just gonna be a good primer night. We're gonna get a little tactical about author photos and article series and other fun things like that. Like actually thinking about launch and promotion. In terms of all those cool things. And also talk a little bit about like what lies ahead over the course of the next month here, in terms of this one, because sort of to kick things back off, I've been out. I've been out for the past week. I've been catching up on all the messages that I've been getting, seeing how things are going. But how are you all doing? Like what's up with everybody in the past week since the past 2 weeks actually since we last spent some time together here.
All right. First thing, just wanted to make sure, school's been really kicking my ass, so I still have yet to submit my absolute final thing to layout. Am I in a bad bind right now, or is that
I'm gonna
okay?
tell you this point blank right now. You have until tomorrow night.
Okay, doable. I'll grind on it today. Because, yeah, it's just things keep piling up. So really all that is just full with acknowledgments and
Yep.
appendix. Really all I have left then is footnotes. So,
Yep.
and then footnotes are all formatted the same, right, as the bibliography? Yep.
Exactly.
All right.
Just don't include URLs.
Okay, that's good to know because those take up space for sure.
Yeah, just don't include them.
All right, thanks.
Perfect. How's everybody else doing? What's up?
Well, I to get I guess I'm still working on the creator one page, but trying to work on the Amazon, the Amazon ad where they'll, with my bio, and I was just, very first sentence, everything else is cool, right? Those 2 paragraphs, but then one sentence is just not right. And I just couldn't come up, I gave it to a friend of mine who's a pretty creative guy. Came up with an awesome statement. So it's really good.
Right on. That's awesome. That's awesome. How about everybody else?
But now
or if you got more to say, Jeff.
I was just saying it's just kind of an odd thing because it's pressure, write, and then edit, and now it's kind of this other odd little stuff. It kind of feels like I'm in the doldrums of sorts, but I got this other stuff I'm supposed to do, but it's just not. It's a different phase.
Yep. It's a different change of pace. It's a different key, different tenor. But at least you now like have that line figured out. Because that's a huge step right there. How's everybody else doing?
Yeah, good, Brian. As you know, with quotes, what is the absolute? Because I don't want to push you guys to. Is it tomorrow night? Is the same for blurbs for the back of the book?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. And if it doesn't make it to print, it doesn't make it to print. That's what Amazon is for. You can always add in additional quotes as time goes on.
Oh yeah, very true. Okay, cool.
Yep.
And don't worry too much about the quotes. Like Tom, I'm using your quote for the back of my book, and it looks really nice.
Yep.
Okay.
How's everybody else doing? Things going well?
Well, one more thing about that bio and such, is that just the Amazon for the bio, or is that also going to be on the book as well?
Amazon.
Okay.
And out of curiosity, is that changeable then if it's just on Amazon at any point?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep. If you realize that you want to take off the fact that you're a Dookie at any point, I mean, I get a free pass on that because my mom and my sister both went to Duke, and
that's
my
awesome.
family. So I can throw, I can take shots like that. But
yeah, you get the card. Either that or a UNC guy,
Yeah, UNC. No, not about that UNC life. Any UNC grads here in the room? If I don't know about you, sorry about that, but. Awesome. So, we are almost there. Like we're like, on Tuesday, John Balcom was actually had a countdown clock that he has actually started a countdown clock that he has in his room for counting down the days until the week of December 2nd when you all publish. So I don't know about anybody else, if anybody's like, counting down the days, getting excited about all of that, or scared or nervous or whatever it may be, but we are like literally almost there in terms of getting these books published, and it's exciting, it's tantalizing, it's an awesome moment to celebrate. But in terms of that one, we sort of have a couple of things here to really keep us going over the next couple of weeks. So tonight, this week, is really all about these two big things of author photos and this thing called an article series, which we'll talk about. Two really big, really powerful promotional tools to have at your disposal. A good photo really goes a long way, and then two ways in which you'll be sharing elements and stories and pieces from your book in the coming weeks and months. And then really like over like the next like month here, like all the way up until I'm gonna say the week before you all publish, we're gonna go into depth in detail on a lot of really big things, from how you actually price your book and categorize your book on Amazon, to like actually getting your book in bookstores, things like press releases, getting Amazon reviews, creating an Amazon author page, actually how to mail the signed copies of your book to everybody who's pre-ordered, all of those things, and like even a couple of things that I'm not mentioning. Like that's what the next month here is really going to be all about. So we're gonna have plenty to keep us and you all busy as we go forward over the next month right here, which is pretty
So
exciting.
speaking of pricing, I'm doing a workshop, possibly 2 different weekends in North Carolina in the first week of December, and one of the guy there wants about to buy 20 books to give to attendees, but that won't be published by that time. So is it? And I don't have a price at this point for them, but I'll have a price to give them, and then they could set it up so they could be pre-ordered in a sense.
Yeah, essentially. That'll be how that one goes. That's quick and dirty. We can talk about the mechanics behind the scenes.
Okay.
Yeah. And in terms of that one, sort of like to tee off these questions, because like there's a lot that we're going to be covering, and there's a lot that I sort of just listed out right there. But some of the big ones that I've got asked plenty of questions about is like this first big one of like, okay, like these books that are going to be printed and sent to me to sign for everybody who pre-ordered my book. How do I do that? How do I mail them? First off, it's going to happen the week of November 26th, as I said before, in the main Quip chat room. That'll be when the books actually deliver to you. So that week you can actually sign them and get them out. So the week of December 2nd, when your book publishes, everybody already has the books. That being said, we'll talk in the next couple of weeks here, like tactically how you sign them, how you mail them, all of the logistics of that. So there's nothing really too big to worry about that one right now, just so long as you have your address in of where the books should be sent to. Another big one that I've been asked a couple of questions about, and is a fun and exciting one to talk about, is how do I get my book into bookstores? That is another one we're going to be talking about quite a bit as well. And I'll even share a little bit about the story of Shen Ming Lee, an author who published back in April, who signed a deal with Borders, the book retail store Borders in Malaysia, to have her book stocked nationwide there, because her family is from Malaysia. We'll talk about how those ones work, how that plays out, and then of course, obviously, like the big thing of like not only like pricing your book, like actually how to price it, but like what this thing of royalties are and how that one goes as well. And in terms of that, like we'll talk about how to price your book the week of Thanksgiving. That's going to be sort of like a recorded workshop that I'll post at the beginning of the week and give to you all as sort of you all are going to be seeing friends, family, other people during that holiday weekend right there, that long weekend. And it'll be a way for you to actually get real market research data on what people are willing to pay, what the ideal price for your book should be. So you can actually get some data and have some fun in having those conversations with people. Like, hey, my book's going to be available on Amazon in a week. How much would you or somebody else that didn't pre-order the book would be willing to pay in order to do that? How would that go? And then the other big thing that we'll talk about is this royalties thing, which is really just a fancy publishing term for book sale profits, meaning, like, in other words, like when a copy of your book sells, how much money you personally will make off of the sale of the book. And we'll talk about how that goes and all of that right there. And sort of the quick and dirty answer that I'll talk about there is 100% of that money that's made off of the sale of the book will go to you. Because again, you're going to be, you are the rights holder of the book. So all profits on that one goes to you, but we'll talk about like how you actually calculate the royalties, actually how that goes into pricing your book, if that's a thing you care about. I can tell you offhand, if you look at my book, it's 206 pages, priced at $14.99. The royalty I make off a single copy of a book sale is about $6. And so if you want to see the behind the curtains on that one, I'll actually show you my book and how I approached that as well. But that's sort of a fun thing to talk about there as we go on. And that's really all there is to it. We'll talk about plenty of things. There's if you want to go, I'll say all in. If you want to go big with your book, there's a lot I can give you. There's a lot we can do to make that one happen. But of course, if you want to do something more personal, more intimate, we'll plan and strategize those things accordingly right there. And that's really the main goal on this one. And before we get too far into it, does anybody like have any questions about anything I've just talked about there? Anybody want, or any questions that you've been meaning to ask but haven't yet asked that you want to talk about?
Copyright.
What about copyright?
What about copyright? Do we have to have this? Should we have this copyrighted?
No. Like, there's nothing. Well, let me take a step back. To answer the question of copyright, is there anything special you have to do? The answer is no, because all of you are publishing your book in the United States of America, which is amazing in a lot of ways for authors and creators, in that anything you create, anything you write, automatically is protected by the First Amendment, and more than that, there are special protections that exist out there automatically. So when your book publishes, like it's actually published, it's automatically copyrighted, automatically protected. So there's nothing special you have to do.
Okay.
So Brian, a couple things. What about the marketing bites that we're working on? You and I were talking about blogs. You know, I've started to create one, but you were going to give some overview on blogs, I think, and blogging or related, right?
Yes, that is going to be the big show of tonight.
Okay.
Awesome. Anything else? Otherwise, we'll dive right into it.
Do we have to do anything special in terms of the actual ebook? So is that, I know the way we're doing layout is supposed to be optimized for that, but is there anything else?
No, nothing else. Layout automatically takes care of it for you.
Okay.
Right on. Awesome. So we are in the process of landing these damn planes of your books. It's exciting. It is happening. It is real. But in terms of that one, sort of one of the big things that every author needs to have, or should have rather, is an author photo. And author photos are a thing that, like, I get asked questions about. It's sort of like, how do I get a good author photo? How do I do it? How do I approach it? How does it work? And really, that's sort of, I'm gonna have like sort of a little brief conversation about it. Sort of like, you know, if anybody has any author photos in mind that they want to like share with the group, to be like, is this a good photo? If you already happen to have one, like, we can do that here. Otherwise it's a pretty straightforward process. And really the simple fact of the matter is of like getting a good author photo, getting a good headshot, profile picture, whatever it may be, is really to follow like the rule of thumb. Like this is such a middle school thing to say, like I fully admit that, but like if someone were to take a photo of you and then you posted it on Facebook or Instagram, regardless of the caption you gave it, and like make it your profile picture, would that photo get you 100, 200 likes, comments? Would it become like the viral piece of social media that you put out right there? Like that's honestly, like put simply, what it takes and what it means to get a good author photo. That's sort of like the type of photo that you imagine as a profile picture on Facebook that would get that many likes. That's the type of photo that you should aim to have as an author photo. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. And sort of like within that though, like that's a cool sentiment, but like what Brian, like what does that mean? Like what the fuck do you mean by that? Of like it has to be something like this, but it's pretty straightforward. Really it boils down to a couple of obvious choice things. The choices and decisions that you have to make in terms of your author photo. One, what are you going to wear? It's an obvious question, but it's one worth saying. Of what should you wear, and really what you should wear is something that makes you look and feel confident and great about yourself. It doesn't have to be a suit or a dress. If it happens to be that, and you feel great in it, awesome. That's what matters. It doesn't have to be anything special. It could be as simple as jeans and a t-shirt if you feel like you look good in it. That's really all that matters, because it's really just about presenting yourself in a photo. That's it. The second big thing is obviously, where do I take the photo? And really, like, there's no right or wrong answer of if the photo should be indoors or outdoors. The real trick to getting a good photo, regardless of where it's taken, is that it just focuses on you. That's it. Nothing special about it. Just a headshot, just a portrait of you. And then third, you want to have someone to take the photo of you. Now, it doesn't have to be a professional photographer that you pay hundreds of dollars to take the photo of you. It could honestly be as simple as low key as having a friend of yours who has like an iPhone that has portrait mode on it to just take your photo of you using portrait mode on the iPhone. That's literally as simple as doing that. And I'll actually show you some examples of authors that got really good photos by just using portrait mode. So if you have a friend who has an iPhone and they have portrait mode, that's perfect. Or if you have an iPhone and you have a friend who you trust to take photos, or is like the photographer of the friend group, have them take the photo of you and you're set. But if you do want to have a professional photographer take your photos and do it for other purposes and needs, or your company or a club or an organization at your school offers take your headshot day like as a thing, because I know a number of, at least when I was a student at Georgetown, like that was a thing that happened, of just get your headshot day, and a student photographer would come in and take really good headshot photos of you for like free or like a $5 donation. And really, like it doesn't have to be super complicated in how you take the photo. It's just a photo of you that makes you look and feel great and focuses solely on you. And some great examples of author photos taken using portrait mode are of Daniel Ernst, who published a book last September all about politics. Antonia Liu right there published a book a couple falls ago about entrepreneurship in college. Both photos there were taken using portrait mode on somebody's iPhone. Nothing fancy about it. Daniel's sitting down, he's facing the camera, you see his face. Antonia is standing up, you see her face straight on. Nothing special about it, nothing crazy you have to do. If you happen to want to do a pose like sitting down or holding something, that's great, but you don't have to. It's really just about showing you and your face, and that's all really that matters. Or you could do something, you know, a little more like picturesque, like Professor Custer did with his iconic dashing author photo in a suit, gray suit, out in a garden area. If you want to do something fancy like that, you're more than welcome to. But all three of these things have in common is one, you see the author's face. Two, there's nothing fancy or complicated about it. And three, you can clearly see the author's face. It's not like it's like a side view of the author's face or it's too dark or too bright. It's just a good photo. Nothing special about it. It's fairly straightforward in that way. And actually, to pick on some really good author photos that I've seen from some of you all, a couple of whom are actually on the workshop tonight, so we'll see if you end up really liking your author photo or not. We shall see. This is a absolute fire author photo from Devin right here. Like yes, he's wearing the suit jacket, but he's got like a t-shirt underneath, you know, arms crossed, wearing his glasses, smiling. You see Devin and you know who Devin is right there. Like it's clean, it's simple, it's to the point. Nothing over the top about it. It's a great author photo all around right there. Carlotta has a great photo right here too. It's just clearly of her face. It's a headshot. It's actually her LinkedIn profile picture. Or at least a former LinkedIn profile picture. I forget if it's the current one or not. It's fairly straightforward. Nothing special about it, but that's what makes it a great author photo. And then of course we have Fatima here, like another like background. You see skyscrapers, buildings in the background. You know, all three here are iconic author photos. Like it's just of the author in the face, smiling, happy, looking confident, and being who you are. Really nothing else to that one beyond that. That being said, the last thing I'll say about author photos is when you should have an author photo. And the answer to that one of when should I have my author photo is the week of December 2nd. So you really use the month of November to figure out what you want to wear, who's going to take your photo, where you're going to do it. But really the month of November is your time to do that, because the week of December 2nd, you'll want to have your author photo in line. So when you actually put your book up on Amazon and actually create your author page on Amazon, you have a photo that you can use. And if you want to, you take a photo and send it my way and say like, hey, Brian, is this a good author photo or not? I'm more than happy to give you my 2 cents of if that's a good author photo or not. But honestly, it shouldn't be too difficult of a thing. That being said, does anybody have any questions about how to do an author photo, what a good author photo is like, if anybody has any, sample ideas that they want to share with the group?
Did you say that you were you would judge one of our photos right now?
Yeah, if you have a photo that you're like, I think this could be a good author photo, and you want to share your screen, I am more than
I do.
To
Okay.
tell you this good photo.
This is,
okay, well, let me see if I pull it up. Let's see.
Go ahead, Jeffrey.
Okay. How about that one? Can you see that?
You're not sharing your screen right now.
I thought I had it. Hang on here. Let's try it again. You see it now?
No. Or
well,
yes,
not coming
yes,
up
you are
here.
sharing your screen, yes. But I do not see the photo.
How about that?
No.
Trying to share my screen. It's not coming up. Huh.
I see a screen that I believe is yours. Oh, it's weird.
Connection screen. Let's see. Why is that not? I'm trying to switch screen images on it and not seeing it, huh?
Click the green share button, and then
I did.
try to click on the image.
Says, I got share. I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to bring up my picture. I
Click
put that on the
share.
screen. What's that?
On the bottom of the page, click new share.
Okay. New share.
and then
Select window or screen.
Yeah.
Entire screen.
click, like if you already have your photo pulled up, just click on the one that looks like your photo, and that's it. That's all you have to do.
It's not showing the alternative screen there. I'll select. I'm trying to. It doesn't give me the option. It just says yours or entire screen. Try one more time here.
Okay, there we go. That is a great author photo.
Okay, so that I got that taken by a place called People Pictures.
Mhm.
I was told to go to this place, and it's in the mall, and they do portraits and all kinds of different stuff. And so I went in. I think it cost me $35 to have a handful of shots done, and that was one of them.
That's a great author photo.
Yeah,
Okay.
looks good.
Okay, thanks for the votes.
Of course. Anybody else have any other author photos they wanna share? Be like, yay or nay. I'm happy to tell you if it's
Yes.
bad. I've seen bad author photos before. Like I will not show you the bad author photos because I'm just like, you think holding like a beer at a college party is a great author photo?
Well, if you're having a brew book, right?
Yeah, I mean, if that's what you're doing, but this author was clearly not doing it. Their book was about being an introvert, and then it's of them at a college party, and we're holding. I'm like, doesn't make you look like an introvert, but you know.
Mhm.
That being said,
That's
Alexa,
funny.
if you have a photo, I can share it.
Hey, Brian. All right, it's Alexa here. How do you share screens? Because I'm not sure if mine is like too serious. I sent you a picture, but I don't know if should I just like share my screen or you want to check your messages.
And I might have to hop off in a sec. Is there anything else we're going to be covering tonight?
Article series.
Okay. Could you give a brief run through if you don't mind?
You're gonna have to watch the recording.
Yeah, I can just watch it. I just realized. Yeah. All right. Sounds good.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so this is Alexa's photo. This is a good photo. This
Yeah,
is a
it's
solid photo.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was too serious or not.
No, it's perfect.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the support, Brian. Thank you very much.
Of course. I mean, you look great, Devin. I'm gonna call out the authors that happen to look great, because y'all are doing awesome things, and y'all deserve to be recognized for taking good photos, good author photos. Awesome. So now comes the fun part, the fun conversation of actually talking about how to launch and promote your book. The fun thing right here, in terms of this one. So to really tee up this conversation of like how to really launch and promote your book right here, sort of the best way to lead off this conversation is really like how we think launching a book, how we think promoting a book works, of like going out there, hawking a sign, being a sign flipper. I really wish I could have included a photo of the recent Joker movie, but a shame I couldn't find one. Like we think, you know, it's going out there, it's advertising, it's promotion, it's things like that, paid advertising, all that. But in reality, like the way successful launch and promotion really comes down to is having a good blueprint, a good plan of action, and then mapping your actions on it and executing to that plan. And that's really the big thing that we're going to be really focusing this last month here on: developing, honing, and then executing on when the book actually publishes right here. And in terms of this one, sort of like the best way to really tee up this conversation is the fact that whether you have a lot of excitement to go big, to go hard in the launch and promotion of your book, or you really just want to like celebrate the fact that you published, and that's success in of itself for you right there. You don't have any bigger aspirations besides being like, hey, I published a book, I'm super proud of that. It's really important to make sure that everything you do in the talking about your book, in the selling of the book, in the marketing and promotion of your book, that everything is really aligned from the ground up, and that you don't rush it. Because the biggest thing that I've seen successful authors do that unsuccessful authors do not do is that they aren't aligned in what they want, and then they rush through and stumble on executing on the things that they want to do. And really the big thing that we're going to focus on here is, especially the role that I'll play in this one, and what you'll be doing with your marketing editor, is really aligning at the top everything you want to do and making sure the activities of podcasts, conferences and events, thought leadership articles, whatever those things may be, is all aligned around what you want to do. And there's no one else I could point to better than my favorite person of all, what our marketing guru, Gary Vaynerchuk right here. And I'll let him talk about sort of the secret, which there is no secret, to sales and marketing right here.
Sales and marketing orgs are going to hate each other because they have different objectives. And I am empathetic to both. Let me explain. Salespeople. I'm a salesman. Salespeople. One move that your marketing team can do can change everything for you. They can go over 92. They can get a digital yield. You can hate that. And one activation at a conference, one video they make for Facebook, one thing, one sponsorship, one thing, it does everything. You're literally Mike Tyson, right? One punch. And that you have to respect. There's nothing you salesperson can do that will ever map to one excellent execution in marketing that has the same impact. Next, marketers. You're full of shit and you're fluffy and most of the stuff you're gonna do doesn't matter. And you're highbrow and fuck your degrees and I don't give a shit what awards or what articles are written about how clever you are. You are not as practical. You are not in day to day. You are the offensive superstar of the football team, but probably more like a wide receiver because the CEO is the quarterback. So I love that you can be highly successful, and I love that everybody knows who you are. But just like wide receivers in the NFL, you're a prima donna. You're not practical. You don't get the full picture all the time. And salespeople, aka the offensive line, they're day in and day out grinding, trying to clean up the mistakes you've made or misses you've had. They don't have the luxury of your budget. That's no quantifiable evidence of success. And you've got to be empathetic to your sales team because they are there and there's no wiggle room. Your sales team can't say to the CEO and more importantly the CFO, well, the long-term impact of that conversation I have will do this, even though it's true. Even though I am a great salesperson because I set up sales and I'll have a sales call that's actually not even about the sales call. It's about what I'm going to try to do with that person in a year, but I'm only justifying to myself. As a salesperson wearing that jersey, you've got to make sales, and everybody's just looking at your numbers. Nobody's giving you any credit for the setup. Marketing person, you're only getting credit for the setup. Both of you need to desperately deploy empathy to the other party, and that's the organizations that win. That's up to the head of marketing and the head of sales for her and him to be aligned at the top and create the air cover for those 83 employees or 2 employees to be able to create that cohesive unit. And that's what great coaching is, to get your offensive and defensive coordinator completely aligned to create a cohesive unit. And most people are not good at it.
That's really the crux of it right there. Like, what we're really going to align on in a lot of these workshops and a lot of these tactical things, with an article series, podcasts, bookstores, whatever those things may be, becoming an Amazon bestseller, all of that fun stuff, is really making sure it's aligned in the strategic framework that you want that you want to be working towards right there. So you can actually do so and really celebrate some of the awesome things that are coming down the road here. And one of the big things that we'll be doing to work you on that path of actually actually making those things happen and actually aligning on that at the top is this thing called an article series. And really what an article series is it's a way for you to give 51% of the relationship, to give value to people, whether they are potential readers, followers, members of your audience, whoever that may be, to give to them something that is tangible, real value that excites them about you, what you're doing, and brings them along the larger journey that you're on outside of just this book right here. And that's really the crux of it right there. And really, like, put simply, like, an article series is just one of the many ways for you to demonstrate the stories, the lessons, the themes, the poetry, the scenes from your book, like to share those things with people in a clear and concise way. And the process that it actually follows is it starts by identifying the 8 to 10 stories, maybe more, maybe a little bit less, depending on the length of your stories in your book, excerpts from your book, identifying what those things are that you want to ultimately share with the rest of the world, that you're like, wow, this is such a cool story. This is an inspiring poem. This is a really impactful scene from my book. I want to share this with everybody else because I think this is amazing. Like, if you read this, you're just going to be in awe. You're going to be impressed. It's going to change the way you think about things. And then once you've identified what those things are, it's then about organizing them as a set of posts that go out on LinkedIn and Medium as articles every week, once a week, for the span of about 8 to 10 weeks. And what this really is a way for you to do is say, hey, I'm publishing this book. I published this book. I'm super excited about it. There are some really great stories, some really great poems, some really great scenes in my book. I want to share that with everybody. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share those things with you. And I'm going to share those things with you every week for the next couple of weeks, because I think you'd really appreciate it. You'd benefit from it. You'd resonate with it. Whatever that emotion, that call to action you hope for is. And then you just share those things out every week on a consistent basis. And then once you run out of things to talk about, you then thank everybody for taking the time to read these stories, read these poems, read these scenes, these things from your book. And then you give people a way to buy your book. And the real power of this one gets into this thing known actually, again, to pick on the marketing guru here, Gary Vee, is this thing of the Gary Vee content model, where really it starts with this thing at the top, your book, your podcast, your video, your film, whatever, like this larger thing that you've created is, in this case, your book. And if you think about your book, really it's actually the culmination of a lot of smaller things, conversations, moments, videos, TED Talks, research, studies, whatever those things may be. And those things, if you were to deconstruct them and pull them out of your book, that can become this thing of an article series, which is a way for you to demonstrate expertise and share things from your book in a substantive way, to share that with people and get people excited about this larger thing, this book that you've created. And then, of course, actually identifying where out on social media you want to be engaging with people. LinkedIn, Medium, YouTube, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever those platforms of choice may be, actually sharing it with people and actually engaging in conversations with it with people about it. And the reason we call it an article series is because there is an end point to it. To your point, Tom, earlier about, like, I want to start a blog. I want to do blogging as a thing. A blog is good, depending on your goals and your aims for it. And the biggest challenge with a blog is that there is no end point. What you are doing is you're committing to yourself, like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to post a blog post every week, or once a month for the next year in perpetuity, whatever that like long-term future is going to look like. And the difficulty with a blog is because there is no end point, there is no real clear way to point to what is your expertise beyond individual posts. But if you have a series of things that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and is around something larger, like this book that you've published, it's able to demonstrate your expertise because they're like, oh, I can just read these 2 particular articles in the series and get what I need out of it. That's going to be the types of things that people reference ultimately later down the road in a book, in a podcast, in a video series, whatever those larger things may be, just as you've done with your own book right there. And that's really what it.
So Brian, if I can then, we obviously are going to be posting stuff on LinkedIn as well. I like the idea. I think it was Alex or someone we watched had done, snippets of her book. Someone from the launch group had done something on LinkedIn that I liked. So I figured at the same time I was doing the blog, there'd be things on LinkedIn anyway, which, like you said, like a series of articles. And that's what the Marketing Bites, I guess, right? That's what the Marketing Bites I was going to ask you, they're creating for us?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. It's about pulling out those stories, those quotes, those excerpts that you can then plug out on social media, on LinkedIn and Medium and the other platforms as you go. And again, like the big distinction here is that this article series that you do has a very clear beginning, middle, and an end to it that is really, just put simply, taking things from your book and then deconstructing them and putting them out there without anything special. It's not like you're writing a whole new book. It's not like you have to do anything intensive. It's literally just like, this is a story from my book from chapter 5. I think it's really great. I hope you enjoy it. If you really enjoy it, you can buy my book, or you can reach out to me and we can connect and collaborate on something. That's literally all there is to it. There's nothing complicated about it. And you may be thinking to yourself, like, okay, I'm doing this, but like, wouldn't like sharing things from my book like kind of stop people from wanting to read and buy my book? Like, if I'm giving away everything from my book, like essentially if I'm giving these stories from my book away, like essentially for free, like wouldn't it stop people from reading my book? And the answer to that one is like, actually no. In fact, like, you'll actually sell more books and even more cool things will actually happen if you do things like an article series and you actually share the stories and tell the stories and open source as much of your book as possible. And there are actually a number of authors that have done this, and to share some of their stories on this one where they've like actually intentionally shared elements of their book, or they've done this thing like an article series, is some really cool things have happened. So Matt Bussell is an author who published a book called Game Changer, all about augmented reality, virtual reality in sports. He actually published his book alongside me way back when in April 2017. And one of the really cool things that happened is he got really intentional about, I'm going to create this article series. It's going to be 6 articles in length. It's going to be this really cool. It's literally just taking things from my book and I'm putting them out there and I'm putting a little bit of thought behind it. And in the process of doing this, 6-part article series that he did on Medium, one of his articles actually got picked up by SportsIllustrated.com. And you can actually, if you look up Matthew Bussell on Game Changer, Sports Illustrated, you can actually find that article out there. And by getting that single article, not even the rest of his articles made it onto Sports Illustrated, but the fact that he got this one article out there ended up allowing him to demonstrate his credibility enough to the right people and have conversations with a couple of the right people that he ended up landing a job and became the 6th full-time employee at a sports augmented reality training startup up in New York, which was particularly awesome because that was the dream thing that he was going for. And it just happened because of one. Randy Ginsberg is actually an author who published back at the end of July. And he approached it similarly of, I'm just going to, on LinkedIn and Medium, commit myself to putting out like 8 articles, 8 stories from my book. That's it. And in the process, he actually was able to get a piece of his featured in, a piece about him featured by Time online as well, which was really, really cool. And he's just like an author who literally just published. So I enjoy talking about him because literally just happened, and it's a pretty high profile moment. Just simply by just putting things from his book out there and sharing his story. And then of course, I always talk about Haley Smith as well, who published her book last summer, who as a result of her book, like you can actually see, like she became, named by Forbes one of the top most influential female speakers. But she also actually used the fact that she wrote this book and some of her previous writing experiences, writing other articles for other publications, to actually become a contributing writer, a featured writer with Forbes, which was a really cool thing that happened. And if, like, that's a thing that you want to do, like I want to write articles for or write things for other publications, that's a moment that can happen through doing an article series and demonstrating your credibility by just sharing things from your book. And really, like, in other words, like, the more you share from your book, the better. And the more, and if the more ways you do it in, the better. So if you're thinking to yourself, like, Brian, I only have to create like 8 to 10 stories, like pull out 8 to 10 stories, 8 to 10 things from my book that I want to share. What if I were to actually share like 20 things or 30 things or 50 things? There was actually an author, Serena Pergola, on Tuesday, who was like, hey, what if I just, like, for the next 30 days before my book publishes, I posted I shared out a quote, like a thought-provoking quote from my book. 30 days, 30 quotes, countdown. Literally, that's all I do. Those are the types of things that you can do when you make it a series, right? 30 quotes, 30 days. There's a clear thing that you're pulling out of your book, and there's a clear time associated with it of 30 things, 30 days. Things like that you can do. And even, like, if you do it right, you can turn your book into like a 30 article series on LinkedIn and on Medium, which, if you do the math, 30 posts on LinkedIn, 30 stories on Medium, that's 60 things of content out there using just 30 stories. That's it. And I'm sure if you also put it, like, linked out to it on Instagram and linked out to it on Twitter and linked out to it, on TikTok and things like that, instantly it gives you more pull, more reach. And that's the basic idea of it. And again, if you do it without putting in much work of literally, this is a cool story, this is a cool thing for my book, I want to share it, and then you share it, that's literally all you have to do. And a lot of great momentum. And if you think about it too, from the other perspective of what if someone actually read all 30 articles I put out on LinkedIn? Like, what if someone were to put, to do that, right? Like, if they were to do that, 1, they're probably buying your book. 2, they think you're awesome, because nobody reads 30 articles on LinkedIn or Medium or whatever unless they actually want to invest the time. So you now have a fan for life. So kudos to you for that. And really, it comes back to this idea of the content model of, like, the book is really the convenience factor of people are paying to buy the book because it's got all the articles that you've put out in one centralized space. It's the culmination of everything. And then by sharing as much of it as you can, that enables you to demonstrate the expertise, make some really cool things happen in the process, again, without that much effort.
Hey, Brian.
Yes.
So taking this idea of a series, so I've been like YouTubing for like 2 years. So what if I decided to like take this idea of a series and maybe like sit down with people and like talk about the topics of my book as they apply to them, to kind of like thought provoke like the ideas to showcase what I'm talking about in my book, to basically like get people to be enticed and would want to buy it. And like this is something I've been wanting to do, so I think like it would work in terms of like in place of articles, like doing a series on YouTube and then sharing them on LinkedIn or like Instagram and then driving traffic that way.
Yep, 100%.
Does that work?
That would work really, really well. And here's another thing that I'll plant the seed for you to do. Take all of those videos that you record in, the 8 to 10 video series, however long you make it. Again, make sure you have like a beginning, a middle, and an end, like the number of videos you want to do, like the number of episodes. But once you actually have them all recorded, you should get them transcribed using Otter.ai.
Oh,
and then
okay.
turn that into an article series that you put out on LinkedIn and Medium. And that's the arbitrage of content right there.
Okay. Oh, that's great. Okay. Well, then I guess now going off of that, are we expecting to do these like series before the book publishes, or can this be something that is like ongoing?
So you'll want to you want to launch it after like if you do like a formal article series or formal video series, and then your ultimate goal is to, like at the end of it, like link out for people to buy your book, you want to launch it like the week of December 2nd or like the week after or a couple weeks after.
Okay.
So you have time to like organize it all and create like some pieces.
Yeah.
So that way when you actually launch it and people are like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, they then can like activate on that moment and actually go buy the book.
Okay, perfect then. That gives me like time to record and edit and do all of that.
Yep.
So Brian, with these,
I was going to say
let's have Jeff go first, then Tom.
Okay, so one of the things that a couple of my friends I got a couple of social media experts, and then I have another friend that's been good at self-promotion, and he's a well-respected speaker in the area. And so he suggested that I get on LinkedIn at least once a day, post something in the morning that it's not an excerpt from my book necessarily, but a topic that relates to it. And it's interesting how just going from day to day, I come into stories and dealing with businesses or seeing things, and then I use that, and I'm posting just, maybe less than 2 paragraphs worth of work, but I start with a question or a topic that's related to it, talk a little bit of the story, what should you do as a business owner, and then he said 3 hashtags. So I hashtag my book, and then 2 that would go with the topic of the whatever that topic is of the day. And so I'm attempting to do that on 5 days a week.
Yeah, that makes sense. The one challenge that I will ask you about is what happens when you get sick and you miss a day? Yeah.
Well, the other thing is if I signed up for AppSumo, it's something you can schedule it. Again, I'm not being consistent lately, but like I say, trying to keep up with everything else. But that's at least I'm posting on a regular basis, and I'm getting anywhere from 30 to 80 views on it every day.
Yeah.
So I'm getting traction.
That's good. Yeah. No, I mean, you definitely want traction like that. The reason I asked you about like what happens when you get sick is like the way you should try to think about it is obviously there are like things that are spur of the moment, like, oh my gosh, this thing in the business world just happened. Like there was a breakthrough in this piece of research in self-driving car technology. If you read a book about self-driving cars, like I have to do this in the moment. But then too, being thoughtful and intentional about planning a little bit in advance, so that way if you do get sick or things like that, you allow yourself to fall off that bandwagon. So that way you don't have to be hard on yourself. It's like, oh shit, I have to go put this out, twice tomorrow or things like that. And then it sort of messes with your motivation, because like something like that is really powerful when you're able to consistently do it. But if you fall off the bandwagon, you don't want to be too hard on yourself.
Right. I understand.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Brian, so I guess what I'm saying is, knowing the marketing bites are created, from what I'm hearing from you, is I shouldn't be doing much, if anything, in November, even though I could still post a few things. But really, you're saying don't start until right about the time of the book launch. Is that right? Or
yeah, so absolutely. So like a lot of the things that like Alexa, you've been doing recently, of like sharing out like screenshots of conversations with your editor Linda, sharing out like strategically like the cover reveal to everybody, doing things like that are good and powerful, and you should be sharing those conversations with people. But the more substantive, the more substantial pieces of your book, you want to hold back just a little bit longer, so that way when you do ultimately do the article series, like the thing, like the larger things for your book, you're also lined up to do it at the same time as your book, speak on podcasts, as you start, thinking about getting invited to, conferences and events and other things. So that way, when the call to action happens, people can then just go and buy your book.
All right. Okay.
Awesome. Any other questions? Any other thoughts for the good of the order? Otherwise, I will give you your marching orders, and I will see you all next week.
Can I just be like a 10-day like series, or like does it have to be like a longer series? Like, what do you usually suggest?
Yeah, so you want to do about 8 to 10 of them, and you want to do it once every week for 8 to 10 weeks straight.
Okay. So, okay.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. You can do it. You can do a thing 10 days leading up to it, but in the post-launch, you want to do 8 to 10 at least. But 8 to 10 is like a good anchor to have, and then once a week, every week until you run out of the series.
Okay, and then like actually post blog posts on like if you like that. Is that okay to do?
Say that again.
Like if I have a website, so should I be posting blog posts on there too, and then like updating my email list?
Yeah. So what you should do, again, like if you have the time and the energy to do it, is the articles will go out on LinkedIn, they'll go out on Medium, they're going to go out on your personal website, and then it should go out as an email as well to everybody who's on your email list.
Okay, cool.
That's 4 touch points right there through one thing of content. Boom. Awesome. So tactically, what you want to do walking away from here is send a message, is actually start the conversation with your marketing editor of like, okay, what are the marketing bites from my book? What are the stories? What are the excerpts? What are the quotes that I could use, that I want to use, that you've identified, that I personally want to identify, that I want to use in this launch and promotion effort for my book? Identify what those are, and then begin to organize which one you want to go out the week of December 2nd, which one you want to go out the week after, and the week after that, and so on until you run out of things to share each week. And then before you know it, you'll have plenty of other launch and promotion things we'll do in the next couple of weeks here to keep you busy.
Brian, one other question. So he was telling me, my marketing editor, about in the beginning of every little, chapter that he was culling out, like, hey, try to find an image that shows this or that. So he's supposed to just go on the internet, and find an image that's not copyrighted, but related to whatever theme he was talking about. For me, Is there any place to go to look for that, or you just go out to the internet in general?
Yeah, so if you Google an image and then you do copyright free, that'll protect you. But the trick with photos, especially for content like this, which isn't monetized content, is if you can give photo credits and attribution like that, like photo credits taken by New York Times, taken by this photographer, sourced by CNN, whatever it may be. That'll get you that'll get you covered.
All right, so yeah, if you find something you like and you know the source, you're saying just give the credit right there when you publish it. That's all right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Awesome. So if there's nothing else, I gotta kick you all off because we run a little over, and the authors publishing in February are starting to pile into the Zoom session here.
Okay.
All right.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, take care.
Hey, Brian.